Good afternoon, and today we shall be going for a poem by Aga Shahid Ali, and Aga Shahid Ali's poem Land. Now, Land is one of the very popular poems by Aga Shahid Ali that we all know. And Land, while writing Land, there is some background stories and histories that provoked the poet Aga Shahid Ali to write a poem like this. Before we start the poem Aga Shahid Ali's Land, we must know that the poem is actually from a collection called Call Me Smile Tonight, a book of ghazals. Now, Call Me Smile Tonight, a book of ghazals. So, this particular title makes it clear that this collection is actually collection of ghazals by Aga Shahid Ali. But it is interesting that throughout this collection, we find that he is referring to so many other American poets, other fellow poets in America and all other places. And so is the case in this particular poem called Land. Now, Call Me Smile Tonight, obviously a very brilliant collection of ghazals. But the way ghazals are basically written in Urdu, here we find the ghazals are written in English. So the Land has a very beautiful story, and that story is connected to the person to whom the poem was actually addressed, dedicated. And he is an American poet also. American poet Christopher Merrill, to whom the poem was addressed. Christopher Merrill is not only a poet, but also an essayist, journalist, and translator. And right now, he is serving as the director of International Writing Program at the University of Iowa. So Merrill and Aga Shahid Ali had a very good friendship. They used to communicate almost daily, as Christopher Merrill himself has written in some other place. And whenever they used to write a new poem, they used to exchange their views and opinions, the kind of poetry one is writing, and the other had the same kind of responses regarding the opinions and the kind of observations from the other end. So Christopher Merrill and Aga Shahid Ali, they exchanged their views and opinions. They used to share their very creative feelings that they had together. Before I move to what exactly Christopher Merrill's opinion on Aga Shahid Ali, and that is interestingly connected to this particular poem called Land, I think we should go to the poem first. What exactly Aga Shahid Ali wrote. Let's read together the poem Land. Land for Christopher Merrill. Swear by the olive in the God-kissed land. There is no sugar in the promised land. We must the bars turn neon. Now when, love, I am already drunk in your capitalist land. If home is found on both sides of the globe, home is of course here and always the missed land. The hours come to redeem the pledge, not wholly. In fates long years ago, we made a tryst land. Clearly, these men were here only to destroy a mosque, now the dust of a prejudiced land. Will the doomsdayers die? beaten with envy, when springtime returns to our dismissed land, the prisons fill with the cries of children, then how do you subsist? How do you persist, land? Is my love nothing, for I have borne no children? I am with you, Sappho, in that anarchist land. A hurricane is born when the wings flutter. Where will the butterfly on my wrist land? You made me wait for one who wasn't even there, though summer had finished in the tourist land. Do the blind hold temples close to their eyes when we steal their gods for our atheist land? Abundant bride, night throws down her jewels as Rome on our descent is an amethyst land. At the moment, the heart turns terrorist. Are Shahid's arms broken, O promised land? So the poem ends with a note of question and also with a reference to Aga Shahid Ali himself at the end in the last line. Now, the kind of reference to the sugar in the promised land and the kind of swear, of course, the poem has so many layers of personal experiences. The poem talks of so many alienation, isolation. And when someone is an immigrant like Aga Shahid Ali, who has left his own country so long and is now in a sense of longing, a sense of departure, a sense of memory for the land where he used to be there earlier. So I think we should go gradually and how does the idea of there is no sugar in the promised land came? In this particular line, we find Aga Shahid Ali has a very deep connection to the American poet Christopher Merrill. Now, Christopher Merrill has a very, an opposite opinion. In a particular place, Merrill is there to say, Aga Shahid Ali was my closest friend. For nearly 20 years. And we spoke on the phone nearly every day. Sometimes, several times in a day, especially if one of us was writing a new poem, which we would read successive drafts of each other. Once when I was house sitting for the poet W.S. Maruin at his place in Maui, a place that Shahid and I affectionately referred to as the promised land. So I think we can directly connect what exactly in the mind of Aga Shahid Ali when he wrote the particular phrase called promised land. Now the promised land, if it is directly from the personal experience of the home of the poet W.S. Maruin, where Mr. Merrill and Ali both used to be there to get inspiration, to have conversation, to get suggestion. But the name, that particular phrase, promised land, has more deeper, significant connotation that connects to his own land in Kashmir. The land that talks a lot about of his generation, his upbringing, the land that he considers a blessed land, a promised land, a land of inspiration, a land of rich heritage. Somehow, the speaker in the poem is missing that past, the history, the heritage, and of course, genealogy. I continue Christopher Merrill's uh, memorizing those associations with Aga Shahid Ali. We had just settled into what I knew would be a long conversation. So I made a cup of tea. And when I looked for sugar, there was only honey available. Marwin was a devout Buddhist. There is no sugar in the promised land, I joked. So you can connect how the phrases came actually in the poem Land. Shahid heard the beginning of a ghazal, and so we started playing around in search of a way to close the couplet. Our first attempt yielded, swear by the olive in the sun-kissed land, which sounded like an advertisement for sun-kissed orange juice. Finally, we came up with swear by the olive in the God-kissed land, then challenged each other to write our own poems. But I was in the midst of covering the war in the former Yugoslavia, not really writing poetry. And while Shahid quickly finished his ghazal for me, Land, the poem we are about to read, I never got around to writing mine before he died. So we know that Aga Shahid Ali had a premature death at the age of 52. He was suffering from brain cancer. Now, it's the background is, I think, a bit clear what actually, how did those particular phrases came in the mind. But if these are the very personal references that you find over there, the poem has much deeper connotations that I was trying to say. Swear by the olive in the God-kissed land, there is no sugar in the promised land. The speaker in the poem is talking about Kashmir, a land of promises, a land that the speaker considers it is God-kissed, blessed with the, that benevolent God who is there to, with all the, opportunities, all the blessings, all the love, the care in a land like this. But in spite of having such kind of blessings from the Almighty, the land is something not in that state of being blessed. Rather, it is now torn. It is now turned into pieces. It is now having several ruptures, sacrifices within. We must the bars turn neon now, when love, I am already drunk in your capitalist land. Is it something that the speaker would like to hint at, that he is no longer a resident of this promised land? That he is now staying in a place far, far away from his promised land, is now in a capitalist environment? Is it that very indirect reference to staying in America? But home is a concept that is never easy. Home is something that is molded with emotion, attachment, root. And if that sense of being rootedness is ruptured, distorted, cut off, so the invisible bleeding that continues, it continues forever. Somehow in the mind, somehow in the emotion of the speaker, we find that sense of bleeding that continues. But he is already settled in America, in spite of being that sense of security in the true sense of the term. We find in reality there is a kind of an insecurity very much present at the heart of the speaker. The speaker is internally suffering from bleeding, and insecurity is very much that looms large in the psyche of that particular speaker. And that's why, from that sense of insecurity, the speaker goes on to say, if home is found on both sides of the globe, now you can say home is everywhere, but not all home is actually, quote unquote, that real home. That sense of being exiled, how much it can be of that particular level that a speaker like this, who can think of that sense of isolation. Home is, of course, here in the poem we find the speaker is emphasizing. Of course, home is there, but it is not that promised land. Christopher Merrill remembered the poet Aga Shahid Ali, that Aga Shahid Ali used to share that in a tripartite way he was exiled. One, he was exiled from Kashmir. Number two, exile from India. And number three, that is Urdu. So, when your language, you are far, far away from your mother tongue, from your own country, from your own place, that deep vacuum, that emptiness, one can easily assume well. That sense of emptiness is, of course, there with a sense of insecurity. Sense of annihilation is, of course, found almost at the end of the poem, Land. The hours come to read the pledge, not holy. In fates long years ago, we made a tryst land. So there was something settled in the psychology, in the upbringing, that there is a tryst in the destiny to make this land a promised land and to make the land a successful one. But this is no longer there. The place, his own land, is full of anarchy now. The land is full of destruction. The land is full of devastation. It gives an utter sense of pathos, pain, that is very much clear in the lines in the poem, The Land. Clearly, these men were here only to destroy. Somehow the peace, somehow that quietness of the promised land, that is no longer there. What is there? Destruction. A mosque, now the dust of a prejudiced land. The mosque is now turned into pieces. It is now transformed into a dust. So those physical alienation, psychological alienation, and at the same time, religious and spiritual alienation, when all are combined, we find the speaker is at the very pinnacle of his crisis. These are something, the words, the phrases uttered over there are the sense of crisis which loom large and for which there is no way out. With the doomsdayers die, beaten with envy, when springtimes return to the dismissed land, prison filled with the cries of children, how do you subsist? How do you persist, land? Land itself has been personified in the poem. It is something that the speaker is addressing the land. So how can you bear the kind of torture? How can you bear the kind of persecution happening there all through? Now in the prisons, we find the cries of the children. Everywhere, the doomsdayers are there. How can you tolerate such kind of persecution? Land, do you have so much power? Do you have so much capacity to continue receiving pain in such a way? It is something that the speaker is addressing, asking to that particular land. The land itself has been personified. Is my love nothing, for I have borne no child? I am with you, Sappho, in that anarchist land, the way Sappho herself excluded herself and then stayed in a separate island with all the followers over there. Is it so? Is the speaker has the same kind of experience, that as he cannot withstand being a witness of such kind of anarchy in his promised land, so like Sappho, he is also separating himself and is now staying in a separate land? Is it a kind of an escapist consolation, a kind of a a sort of way out, because he cannot be a witness of the destruction, of the demolition taking place meaninglessly? So this is how, and he continues, a hurricane is born when the wings flutter. Now, wings are fluttering. If this kind of a particular image talks a lot about aspiration and hope, on the other hand, in the same line, we have hurricane that symbolizes destruction, demolition, that creates topsy-turvy. So these two very opposite kind of aspiration and demolition on the same line invites the next line. Where will the butterfly on my wrist land? When will that particular moment of happiness will return? Will it come? Will there be any such kind of occasion once again when there will be a butterfly on my wrist? That butterfly has that kind of mental peace, that the person on whose wrist it is seated and there is no sense of harm on it. This particular phrase, of course, symbolizes peace, peace in every possible way. Even nature, a butterfly can also have that sense of peace. You made me wait for one who wasn't even there, though summer had finished in that tourist land. Kashmir is a place short after destination of the tourist. They go, they enjoy, they come back. They go there to enjoy the beauty of nature, to go there to have the solace, satisfaction in the mind, the feast of the eyes. They go, but they do nothing. They go there as temporary visitors, and then they return to their own homes, own lands. But to preserve the peace, quietness, prosperity of a land like this, on the part of the tourist, there is no contribution. Do the blind hold temples close to their eyes when we steal their gods for our atheist land? So, what is it? Now, the reference to the temples, reference of the god which were stolen, the kind of, reference to the Kashmiri Pandits, anarchy, everything, how the situation got full of commotion. So the speaker actually criticizing everyone. It is not something that the speaker is biased. Rather, the speaker would like to criticize in every possible way how each and every members, stakeholders of the place have a responsibility of their own, how everyone is contributing the commotion to destroy the peaceful surrounding of that promised land. Abundant bride night throws down her jewels as Rome on our descent is an amethyst land. Amethyst is a very precious stone, violet colored stone, considered as a very precious stone. So the land is also very precious, but people have done nothing. The precious, status of the land for which the people could do nothing, country probably could do nothing. It is a kind of a hopelessness, a kind of a deep sense of sorrow from the bottom of the heart, and that the speaker would like to share how or in what particular extent that the deep sense of sorrow that has moved the heart of the speaker. At the moment the heart turns terrorist, is it that very moment of crisis when the heart turns to be terrorist, turns to be, wants to protest against the anarchy? Is it that very moment when someone is cornered, when someone is actually pressurized so long that a sense of protest comes out in the heart? There is a sense to say against that authority, or Shahid's arms broken, O promised land. Or Shahid has nothing to do, Shahid is crippled, Shahid's mouth is shut, his arms are broken, that means he can't do nothing. Is it so? For the promised land, he has no contribution at all, that he can't do anything to preserve the serenity, the sacredness of his promised land. So with a question mark, deep question, that what will be the ultimate fate of a land like this? With that sense of question for which the speaker has no direct answer, in what particular way the condition will turn in a different path, the speaker has no solution at this very moment. But I think we have marked one very important thing in the poem. This one is the structure. Since it is a ghazal, now when we talk of ghazal, we need to remember that ghazal actually was originated in Arabic origin it has, and early ghazals were basically lyric poems with erotic love, or it's a very delicate sense that used to be there in the ghazals, deep sense of emotional outburst. And the Parsi connection to ghazal, regarding the construction of a ghazal, the meter, the couplet, and the repetition of the same phrase, that is called radif at the end of each couplet. So we find in the poem land, land, land. The word land gets repeated throughout the poem, throughout this ghazal in English. And not only that, there is also radif. Radif is something, the kind of, we have just said, the repetition and the kind of rhyme scheme that appears in each couplet, that is called qafia. The rhyme scheme that is called qafia, an integral part of every ghazal. And every couplet is separate, even when it is intact in the poem. Separate in the sense it has a separate meaning, identity of its own. And what happens at the end of the poem, end of the ghazal, we find the name of the poet. It may be the full name or the surname or the nickname, that is called Takhalas. In the Takhalas portion, the poet's name is also mentioned. So it is in the case of here that, as we find, at the moment the heart turns terrorist, are Shahid's arms broken? Name Shahid comes here as a Takhalas. So that much I had to say regarding this particular poem, a poem that talks a lot about that deep sense of human trauma, a deep sense of mental disparity regarding the concept of home. Because in Ali's poem, what exactly we find that he always talks about multiplied experiences, and the sense of loss is always there, and those emotions are continuously reformulated. He talks about a nostalgia, of course, but it is also true that the nostalgia that we find in the poems of Agha Shahid Ali, it is an impossible nostalgia. A nostalgia that is very hard to fulfill, that is very difficult to pursue. So that's all regarding this particular poem. Thank you so much.